Every one of us is chasing something: success, fulfillment, that sense of winning at life. But here's the question we rarely stop to ask: why do some people win consistently while others, just as talented, never break through? It's not luck, it's not even raw skill. It's about the rules they choose to live by. Not rules written in a book, but rules that guide their decisions, shape their habits, and define how they respond to challenges. Winners think differently, act differently, and most importantly, they live by principles that others overlook. Today, I want to share with you the 11 rules every winner lives by. Not because they guarantee you success tomorrow, but because they give you a framework, a way of living that makes winning not just possible, but inevitable. Most people want success quickly. We live in a culture of instant gratification. Instant food, instant entertainment, even instant followers on social media. We're conditioned to think that if results don't show up fast, maybe we're not good enough, or maybe the goal isn't worth it. But winners know something different. They understand that success is rarely about how fast you can get there. It's about how long you're willing to stay in the game. Playing the long game is about patience, endurance, and an ability to keep showing up long after others have quit. It's about trading immediate rewards for something bigger, something lasting, something meaningful. Think of the bamboo tree. You plant it, water it, nurture it, and for years, nothing happens. No sprout, no visible progress, just empty soil. Then suddenly in the 5th year, it shoots up nearly 80 feet in just a few weeks. Did the growth happen overnight? No. It was happening silently beneath the surface, building roots strong enough to support its rapid rise. That's how winners think. They know the unseen effort, the years of preparation, the countless hours of practice, the sacrifices nobody applauds, are what create the visible breakthrough that everyone else later calls overnight success. The long game requires perspective. It means you don't measure yourself only by today's scoreboard, but by whether you are still in motion tomorrow, next week, next year. It means resisting the temptation to take shortcuts that promise quick results but rob you of long-term growth. The truth is, shortcuts don't lead to greatness, they lead to fragility. And winners don't want fragile victories, they want strong, enduring ones. When you play the long game, setbacks stop feeling like failures and start looking like chapters in a bigger story. A bad day, a lost opportunity, or even a big mistake doesn't define you. It refines you. It becomes part of the foundation you're building. Winners don't panic when progress is slow because they know slow progress is still progress. They don't quit when they don't see instant results because they understand that everything great takes time to grow. This mindset also creates resilience. If you're in it for the long haul, you naturally develop patience, adaptability, and grit. You stop being swayed by every trend or distracted by what everyone else is doing because you're not competing for who gets there fastest. You're competing for who lasts the longest. Winners don't just want the gold medal, they want to still be relevant, fulfilled, and impactful long after the medal is won. And here's the paradox: when you stop chasing quick wins and commit to the long game, that's when real success often comes faster than you expect. Because the habits you build, the character you strengthen, and the reputation you earn along the way all compound over time. Compounding is a law of life. Small actions, repeated consistently, create massive results. Winners trust the compound effect. They know that showing up every day, even when it feels insignificant, eventually creates a tipping point that changes everything. Playing the long game is not easy because it requires faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the process, faith that even when you can't see the result yet, the roots are growing. It's easier to chase the thrill of quick wins, but quick wins fade. Long-term victories endure. When people think of winners, they often picture extraordinary moments. An athlete breaking a world record, an entrepreneur selling their company for billions, or a performer delivering an unforgettable performance. Those moments look like they were powered by a burst of intensity, by someone giving absolutely everything in one heroic push. But the truth is, those moments are simply the visible outcome of something far less glamorous, far less dramatic, and far more difficult: consistency. Winners don't just give effort when it feels exciting or convenient. They build habits that they repeat, day after day, long after the initial excitement has worn off. They don't rely on intensity, they rely on consistency. Intensity is easy to spot. It's the person who signs up for the gym on January 1st and goes every day for a week, only to stop by the 15th. It's the entrepreneur who launches a new idea with passion but loses steam when the first obstacles appear. Intensity can create a spark, but sparks fade. Consistency, on the other hand, is about steady commitment. It's about doing the right thing over and over again, even when it's boring, even when no one is watching, even when there are no immediate results. And that is what makes winners different. They understand that greatness is not built in a single act, but in repeated, disciplined acts stacked on top of each other over time. Think of brushing your teeth. Brushing once, even for an hour, won't do anything for your dental health. But brushing for 2 minutes, twice a day, every day, over years, makes all the difference. That's consistency. Winners treat their craft, their goals, and their dreams the same way. They don't depend on massive, irregular bursts of effort. Instead, they design routines, rituals, and habits that keep them moving forward every single day. The problem with relying on intensity is that it depends on motivation, and motivation is unreliable. Some days you'll feel it, most days you won't. Consistency doesn't care about how motivated you feel. It doesn't ask, "Do you want to do this today?" It simply asks, "Will you do it anyway?" That's where discipline comes in. Discipline is what bridges the gap between intention and action, between who you are today and who you want to become. Winners embrace that discipline, not because it's easy, but because it frees them from the roller coaster of waiting for the perfect mood or the perfect moment. Consistency also compounds in ways intensity never can. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't feel like much. Writing 2 paragraphs a day doesn't feel like much. Practicing your skill for 15 minutes doesn't feel like much. But over months and years, those small, consistent actions create mastery. They build a foundation so solid that when the big opportunities arrive, winners are ready. Not because they suddenly got inspired, but because they've been preparing quietly, steadily, and relentlessly all along. Another reason winners focus on consistency is that it creates trust. People don't trust someone who shows up only when it's convenient. They trust those who show up every time, no matter what. A consistent leader earns loyalty. A consistent teammate earns respect. A consistent performer earns credibility. Intensity can impress people for a moment, but consistency makes them believe in you for a lifetime. And while intensity often leads to burnout, consistency creates sustainability. Winners want to keep going for decades, not just weeks. They pace themselves. They know life is not a sprint, it's a marathon. The ones who go all out without balance or rhythm often flame out early. Winners last because they have mastered the art of steady progress. Failure is one of the most misunderstood experiences in life. From the time we're young, we're taught to avoid it, to fear it, to treat it as the opposite of success. School systems penalize mistakes, workplaces punish errors, and society celebrates only the finished product while hiding the messy process behind it. But winners see failure differently. They don't view it as the end of the road, but as an essential part of the journey. To them, failure is not a verdict, it's feedback. It's information, data, and insight. It's the world showing them what doesn't work so they can discover what does. When Thomas Edison was asked how he felt about failing thousands of times before inventing the light bulb, he famously replied, "I have not failed. I've just found 10 Zallos in ways that won't work." That's the mindset of a winner. Every misstep becomes a stepping stone. Every setback becomes a setup for something greater. The difference isn't that winners fail less, it's that they interpret failure differently. Where most people see rejection, embarrassment, or defeat, winners see lessons, clarity, and direction. Failure offers information you cannot get any other way. You can study, plan, and strategize endlessly, but until you try and fail, you don't know the truth of what works in reality. Winners are willing to take that risk, not because they enjoy failing, but because they understand the value of the information it brings. Every failure sharpens their approach, strengthens their resilience, and brings them closer to the result they're after. But this shift in perspective requires humility. It means accepting that you don't know everything, that your first attempt won't be perfect, and that your ego will take a few bruises along the way. Many people avoid failure because they don't want to look foolish. Winners are willing to look foolish if it means they're learning. They care more about growth than about protecting their image. That humility, combined with courage, is what separates those who stay stuck from those who eventually break through. Failure also builds character in a way success never can. Success feels good, but it doesn't test you. It doesn't force you to confront your limits or expose your weaknesses. Failure does. Failure humbles you, toughens you, and teaches you how to keep going when things don't go your way. Winners become strong not because life was easy, but because they walked through the fire of failure and came out wiser, sharper, and more prepared. This is why resilience and innovation often go hand in hand. The companies, athletes, and leaders we admire are rarely those who got everything right on the first try. They are the ones who experimented, stumbled, adjusted, and tried again. Each attempt brought a new lesson, each setback forced them to improve, and each failure pointed them closer to the solution. Innovation is not about avoiding mistakes. It's about making mistakes quickly, learning from them, and moving forward stronger than before. There is also a freedom in embracing failure as feedback. Once you stop seeing it as something to be ashamed of, you no longer hesitate to take action. You stop overthinking and start doing, because you know that even if it doesn't work, you will gain something valuable. That freedom to act without fear is what gives winners their edge. While others hesitate, winners try, and in trying, they learn faster. In learning faster, they succeed sooner. Most people wait for motivation to strike before they act. They say things like, "I'll start when I feel ready," or "I just need a little inspiration." The problem is, motivation is unpredictable. Some days you wake up feeling fired up, other days you don't even want to get out of bed. If your progress depends on how motivated you feel, you'll be inconsistent, unreliable, and easily thrown off course. Winners know this, and that's why they don't rely on motivation. They choose discipline instead. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's the commitment to act not because you're inspired, but because it's part of who you are. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions fluctuate. Discipline is a decision, and decisions create stability. Think of an athlete training for the Olympics. They don't get up at 5 a.m. every day because they're excited to do it. They do it because it's in their training plan, because their discipline demands it, because their long-term goal is bigger than their short-term feelings. That's the difference between amateurs and professionals. Amateurs wait to feel motivated. Professionals act out of discipline, and in doing so, they create consistency that compounds into excellence. The beauty of discipline is that it frees you from the constant battle with your moods. Winners don't waste energy negotiating with themselves every morning, asking, "Do I feel like it today?" The answer doesn't matter. The task will get done regardless of how they feel. That consistency creates momentum, and momentum eventually creates results. The irony is that once results start to show, motivation follows naturally. In other words, motivation doesn't come first, it comes after discipline. Discipline also builds identity. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who follows through. And the stronger that belief becomes, the easier it is to keep going. That's why winners don't just rely on willpower, they create systems and routines that lock in their discipline. They design their environment in a way that supports their goals. Because they know discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about making it easier to do the right thing consistently. Consider someone learning a new language. Motivation might carry them through the first few lessons, but eventually the novelty wears off. The grammar gets harder, the progress feels slower, and the excitement fades. If they stop there, they'll never achieve fluency. But if they practice every day, even for just 15 minutes, their discipline will take them further than motivation ever could. Over time, that discipline transforms into mastery, and mastery brings a level of satisfaction motivation alone could never sustain. Discipline is also what allows winners to endure challenges. When setbacks come, and they always do, motivation tends to disappear. It's hard to stay inspired when things aren't working out. But discipline doesn't vanish in hard times. It becomes the anchor. It keeps you moving, even in small steps, until the storm passes. Winners don't quit when they lose motivation. They lean on their discipline, and that's what keeps them in the game long enough to win. And perhaps the most powerful aspect of discipline is that it compounds across every area of life. The person who disciplines themselves to exercise regularly finds it easier to be disciplined with their finances. The person who disciplines themselves to practice their craft daily finds it easier to be disciplined in their relationships. Discipline isn't just a tool. It's a way of living that strengthens everything it touches. Winners know that if they can master themselves, they can master anything. There's a common misconception that winning means someone else has to lose. We've been conditioned to see success as a competition, where only a few can rise to the top and everyone else must be left behind. But true winners see things differently. They don't step on others to climb higher, they bring others with them. They understand that leadership is not about being the loudest voice in the room or the only one standing at the finish line. It's about creating space for others to rise too. Winners know that their success is multiplied, not diminished, when they help others succeed along the way. Think about the leaders you admire most. Chances are, it's not just what they achieved personally that makes them memorable, but the way they lifted others in the process. Great coaches, for example, aren't remembered for their own trophies. They're remembered for unlocking the best in their teams. The greatest entrepreneurs aren't just those who built wealth for themselves. They're those who built companies where others could grow, thrive, and achieve things they never thought possible. Winners build legacies not by hoarding success, but by sharing it. There's also a practical truth here: no one truly wins alone. Every person who achieves greatness has been supported by mentors, colleagues, teammates, or family members who helped them get there. Winners never forget this. They don't pretend they did it all by themselves. Instead, they pay it forward. They become the kind of person who others want to follow, not because they demand loyalty, but because they inspire it through generosity and genuine support. Helping others rise isn't a distraction from winning, it's part of winning. When you encourage someone, mentor them, or celebrate their success, you create an environment of trust and growth. That environment, in turn, pushes you higher as well. Winners know that energy is contagious. If they fill a room with doubt and competition, progress slows. But if they fill it with encouragement and belief, momentum builds for everyone, themselves included. This mindset requires a shift away from ego. Many people feel threatened when others succeed, as if someone else's win diminishes their own value. But winners don't operate from scarcity, they operate from abundance. They believe there's enough success to go around, and by helping others climb, they don't lose their spot. they create more opportunities for everyone. This makes them magnetic. People naturally want to work with, support, and follow those who genuinely want the best for others. It also takes confidence. Only insecure people hold others down because they fear being outshined. Winners, on the other hand, are secure enough to celebrate others without jealousy. They know that someone else's success doesn't make them smaller, it makes the game bigger. They understand that rising together is more powerful than rising alone. And when the people around them succeed, it strengthens the whole system they're part of, whether that's a team, an organization, or a community. There's an African proverb that says, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together." Winners embody this truth. They want to go far, so they invest in relationships. They mentor the next generation. They share their knowledge. They lend a hand instead of turning away. And in doing so, they create networks of trust and loyalty that outlast any single victory. The remarkable thing is that building others up while climbing yourself doesn't just make you a better leader. It makes you a better person. It develops empathy, patience, and perspective. It reminds you that success isn't only about what you achieve, but about who you become in the process and the lives you impact along the way. Ambition is powerful. It pushes people to set goals, chase achievements, and climb higher. But ambition alone can be shallow. It often focuses on external markers, titles, money, recognition, trophies. Ambition says, "I want to be the best," but it doesn't always ask, "Why does it matter?" That's where purpose comes in. Winners are not driven solely by ambition. They act with purpose. Purpose is deeper than ambition. It's the reason behind the goal, the meaning behind the effort, the bigger story that makes the struggle worthwhile. Ambition can get you started, but purpose is what keeps you going. When setbacks come, ambition alone might not be strong enough to carry you through, because ambition is about outcomes, and outcomes are never guaranteed. Purpose, on the other hand, is about impact. It's about contributing to something larger than yourself, something that gives meaning to the sacrifices, the long nights, and the hard work. Winners don't just ask, "What do I want to achieve?" They ask, "Why do I want to achieve it? Who will it serve? What will it change?" That clarity fuels them in ways ambition never could. Take two people running a marathon. One is driven by ambition. They want to finish faster than everyone else. The other is driven by purpose. They're running to raise money for a cause close to their heart. When fatigue sets in and their body begs them to stop, the one fueled only by ambition might quit when winning seems out of reach. But the one running with purpose keeps going, not because it's easy, but because the meaning is bigger than the pain. That's the difference. Ambition may fade when the prize feels out of reach, but purpose endures regardless of the outcome. Winners also understand that purpose provides direction. Ambition can sometimes lead to chasing anything that looks shiny or impressive, even if it doesn't align with who you truly are. Purpose acts as a compass. It helps winners say no to distractions, no to shortcuts, no to opportunities that don't fit their deeper values. They're not just climbing a ladder as fast as possible, they're making sure it's leaning against the right wall. Without purpose, ambition can lead to hollow victories. Success on the outside, but emptiness on the inside. With purpose, even the smallest victories feel meaningful, because they're connected to something that matters. Purpose also transforms the way winners impact others. Ambition alone is self-focused. It's about what I can achieve. Purpose, however, is others-focused. It's about the value created along the way. Winners with purpose inspire people because their drive isn't just for themselves. Their energy, their commitment, their resilience, it all radiates outward, motivating others to find their own sense of purpose. This is why we admire leaders who stand for something bigger than themselves. Their purpose makes their actions resonate beyond personal gain. And the truth is, purpose creates fulfillment in a way ambition cannot. Achieving an ambitious goal feels good, but the feeling doesn't last. You hit the milestone, you celebrate, and then you start looking for the next target. Purpose is different. Purpose gives lasting satisfaction because it's not about a single win. It's about an ongoing contribution. Winners know that trophies gather dust, but a life lived with purpose leaves a legacy. Living with purpose doesn't mean abandoning ambition. In fact, the two can work together beautifully. Ambition gives you goals to strive for, while purpose ensures those goals are meaningful. Ambition fuels the fire, and purpose directs it. The combination creates winners who not only achieve remarkable things, but also live lives of significance. They don't just ask, "What will I get if I win?" They ask, "What will the world gain because I played this game?"